Absolutely. And Kyle, I guess we've got to get back to what we brought you on here for, man, because we'll waste your entire segment if not. But big time weekend coming up for the Indiana Cagers, man.
Yeah, it should be a fun weekend. A good way to end it. Chesterton and Cathedral, I think, is probably the obviously the 4A game, and people looking forward to seeing that. I'll have actually finished the story on the 2 point guards, the seniors who lead those teams, and Tayshawn Comer from Cathedral. He's going to Eastern Kentucky, and then Travis Grayson. I don't know if many people know him. They should, because he is a fantastic. I got a chance to spend some time on the phone with him this week, and his dad and his coach, and he's fantastic. And both those guys are. And I know Tayshawn pretty well from covering him over the years. And him and Leland Walker, I think, are going to do great things at Eastern Kentucky next year, starting next year. But both those guys, seniors, they're they when you talk to them, it's like talking to adults. They're just really good players and good citizens, good to talk to. So I'll have a story kind of combining the two of them a little bit together in a story, but each have their own somewhat similar story. Kind of looked over in recruiting because they're a little bit smaller. Both had to kind of learn how to play point guard. Started as freshmen, but had journeys to get where they are now, kind of learning to play within a system. And both of them had family members who are real with them. TJ Comer, Tayshawn's brother, he played football at Marion University, but he trained him since he was little, and talked to him a little bit too about that. And I think any teenage boy especially needs people to not kissing their butts, but really kind of tell them what they need to do. And having two myself, I know how important that is. So but both those guys have had family members in their lives, basically. And I hope people read that story. It'll, I think, come out tomorrow morning. But enjoyed writing that one probably more than I have any story here recently. But looking forward to seeing those two play. And there's a lot of good games on. Four good, I think, matchups. Interesting. It's Catholic school versus public school in every game this year. So first time I've ever seen that before. I think first time it's ever happened. But yeah, that's sort of an interesting sidebar to Saturday. But I think all four matchups are pretty good ones.
And then in the 4A, you've got an undefeated Chesterton team. They're trying to complete an undefeated season, which would be pretty special for them because there's not a lot of teams that can make that distinction. And you can't say that while they didn't play in the MIC or this or that or whatever. When you get to the tournament, you got to play teams, and playing a team like a Cathedral for the state championship, that would solidify that to me in anyone's mind, or it should.
Oh yeah, and there's no doubt anymore about what they've accomplished. 29-0, they beat Homestead early in the year. I think that's the game that kind of tipped everybody off to how good this team can be. They beat Fletcher Lawyer and that group up at I think it was at Grace College in December, and then they weren't even ranked. They weren't even receiving votes in the preseason poll. So that shows you how far Chesterton has come. They were a good team last year, 16-7, but didn't have much buzz about them until that win. And then, I think they've been number one since early January, I want to say, and have held that spot ever since. And they've beaten some good teams along the way. They had to beat Valparaiso late in the year, and then Valparaiso got beat in the sectional, so they didn't have to see them again, but beat a good Merrillville team. They beat Penn, which was really playing well in the regional final. And then took down a Kokomo team that, with Flory Badunga, who, to me, he's a Big Ten player. He's only a sophomore, but he'll be a name we'll be talking about in the future, writing about. But they took down him in the semi-state and beat Kokomo 42-40, which I think a lot of people had thought Kokomo was going to win that game. So at this point, Chesterton is not an underdog. They're the real deal. They can beat Cathedral, I think, if they play well. And I'm going to pick Cathedral to win, I think, but I don't think it's any, it's no Cinderella story at this point, what they've accomplished.
Mr. Basketball race changed a little bit throughout the end of this tournament run, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we saw, Fletcher Lawyer, just mentioned him. He won the Gatorade Player of the Year I think it was last week. So I don't know if that will help hurt. It won't hurt certainly, but I don't know how much that helps necessarily. Probably doesn't. If someone's on the fence, maybe that name recognition helps, I would say. And if I was probably picking, I would say he might be still the leader, but I would say Braden Smith from Westfield with the sectional he had. I mean, he helped himself certainly, basically playing on a broken foot that's going to need surgery. And he's I think certainly in that mix. I think these two guys I just mentioned, Tayshawn Comer from Cathedral and Travis Grayson from Chesterton, should get some support for that. And then there's another guy, Connor Esigian, who I wrote about last week. He's at Central Noble. He'll be playing in the 2A game, and he's going to Wisconsin. He's number 10 now all time in scoring in the state of Indiana. And if you're top 10 in the state of Indiana, you're among some pretty big time names. And people will have a chance to see him on TV. I think they play at 12:30 on Saturday afternoon in the 2A game. So he'll get a chance to get in the spotlight a little bit more for people who haven't seen him. And I think he goes out and has a good game, he'll probably get some more votes, I would think. So I don't think it's clear, cut and dry. Like I said, I think maybe Lawyer Smith still at the top there, but guys like Esigian and Grayson and Comer, I think, still have a chance to make an impression.
Why doesn't CJ Gunn get a little bit more mention? I know that they went out of the tournament, but he had a tremendous coming off of an injury, comes right in the first game back. He has 18 fourth quarter points and just had an unbelievable season for personally, at least. I'm surprised he doesn't get a little bit more talk.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned him too. I mean, I think he is. I think he is one who will get some support. I think what hurt him is that injury to start the season. He missed a few games, and not unlike Braden Smith, who missed a few games too later in the season, actually. But I think what probably hurts Gunn a little bit is that he didn't have the sectional title, and although I think he does get credit for Lawrence North won the last two sectional titles. He was actually hurt in his sophomore year, and that team, because of the pandemic, didn't get a chance to advance anyway. But he played a big role last year on a team that made it to the state finals, and he was not the not always the top scorer on that. That was a more balanced team with Shamar Avance and DJ Hughes and him. It was kind of a three-headed monster. And then McCulley, who's playing football at IU now, he was a big-time rebounder for that team. But CJ's got a lot of wins. I mean, I think if you put his total resume together, I think that helps him. I think what hurts him, though, and he had a phenomenal, the sectional game he played against Warren Central, he was about as in the zone as I've seen a player this season. It just had a phenomenal game in that one. But I think not winning the sectional will sometimes that makes a difference. And I think, that will obviously didn't help him this year that they weren't able to get through, but he played really well. You're right. I mean, played really well on a pretty young team this year.
So this is your big weekend, man. You get to take a little time off after this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have our honors teams and stuff next week, and Mr. Basketball stuff will be probably not next week, but the week after, and some all-state stuff. The top 60 workout is on Sunday, so I'm going to try to head over to that for a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, it's a full day, but yeah, their state finals are a fun way to end it for me. There's definitely busier days, I would say, but it's a fun day to see some of these kids you've covered for a long time. They get a chance to get their share of the spotlight and see if they can finish it off the right way. And I always know my season ends on the state final, basically, for covering games anyway. But it's fun to see how some of these kids are going to get a chance to grab that ring, and it's not a lot of teams get to do that at this point in the year. So it's always a fun way to end it.